Hi, I'm Matt Rayner, the curator of land vertebrates at Auckland Museum. And we have a question today from 5-year-old Lewis from Auckland who wants to know, did volcanoes wipe out the dinosaurs? Good question, Lewis. Fossils have revealed that dinosaurs lived for about 230 million years. But so far, not a single trace of dinosaurs has been found in fossils younger than 66 million years old. It seemed about that time, 66 million years ago, all dinosaurs disappeared from the earth, and along with dinosaurs went a whole bunch of fearsome marine reptiles like mosasaurs, ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs. Scientists also know that a lot of the Earth's forests burst into flame, and a lot of the biodiversity on the planet declined hugely. About 3/4 of life. A whole bunch of zany hypotheses have been proposed to explain this, but there's two sort of main competing ones that scientists are sort of battling out. The first is the Alvarez hypothesis, or the death from space hypothesis. And this is that a huge killer meteorite the size of a mountain slammed into Earth, lifted a massive cloud of dust and gases, and wiped out much of life. There's two main bits of evidence for this. The first is a metal called iridium. Now, if you look at geological layers where dinosaur fossils are found, at the top of these layers, all over the Earth, dating to about 66 million years ago, you find a layer of iridium. Iridium's not very common on Earth, but it is common in space material like, you guessed it, meteorites. Second bit of evidence for this theory is scientists have actually found a giant crater in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It's about 90 miles wide, and it dates to about, you guessed it again, 66 million years ago. The second sort of main idea for the destruction of dinosaurs is the mega volcano. Scientists have found evidence for massive ancient lava flows, particularly in countries like India, hundreds of thousands of square miles in area and up to 6,000 feet thick, dating to around 60 to 65 million years ago, indicating that massive volcanic eruptions could have, again, lifted ash into the air, poisonous gases, fire raining down, and wiped out the dinosaurs. Of course, the meteorite itself slamming into the Earth could have set off a whole bunch of volcanic reactions. Scientists don't know. Lewis, perhaps you want to become a scientist and try and answer these questions.
Hello, my name's Wilma. I'm the Marine Science Curator at Auckland Museum, but I also know a little bit about geology and about volcanoes. My first answer today is for Kai, who would like to know if we have giant isopods from the deep sea. No, unfortunately we don't, Kai. These are amazing creatures, and we would love to have one in our collections, but we don't. We have, however, giant amphipods. Amphipods are related to isopods. They're also crustaceans. They look a little bit like sandhoppers, but ours are quite large. They're from the Antarctic. They would be about this big, but those are nowhere near the biggest amphipods that you can get. The largest ones are called supergiant amphipods. My second answer is for Levin, who wants to know why we have a model volcano in the Auckland Museum. The volcano in Auckland Museum is part of the Volcano Gallery, and we have the volcano and the Volcano Gallery there to help us explain the story of New Zealand's volcanism. New Zealand is a very active volcanic region. It has many different types of volcanism, and it's had volcanism over quite a few million years. We have very large volcanoes, even though they don't look like they're large, because they're currently expressed as lakes. So we have Lake Taupo, we have Lake Okataina, we have Lake Rotorua. These all produced very large volcanic eruptions in the past, and they were so large that they're sometimes referred to as supervolcanoes. Then we also have more obvious volcanoes like Maunga Taranaki and Ruapehu and Narahoi. These produce slightly smaller eruptions, but they were still very sizable, as you can see by the large volcanic cones that were built up. Then we also have the Auckland volcanic field that produced much smaller volcanoes. All of the sort of the hills and the mountains that you can see in Auckland City, like Mongawhao, Mount Egan and Rangitoto and One Tree Hill. These are all volcanic centres, and these were created over a period of about 200,000 years, and there are about 50 or so of them.
Kia ora, I'm Tom Trinsky, Head of Natural Sciences at Auckland Museum. One of the questions we get most often is, how do you become a curator? And I have a question here, is what does it take study-wise to become a curator? It's quite a tricky question to answer because we have so many different sorts of curators. Just in our museum we have curators of archaeology, history, Pacific, documentary heritage and manuscripts, and entomology and botany and many others, and let alone other curators in other institutions. And they all have one thing in common, in that they specialise in something. So a history curator is a specialist in history, obviously, and a fish curator would have a specialisation in fishes as well. So really there is no single course that you can take to become a curator in any institution. What you do have to do is become a specialist in a particular topic that would be attractive to a museum or an art gallery, and you would become the spokesperson for that particular specialisation. So the advice I give to anyone that wanted to become a curator is find out what you're passionate about, and that can be any subject, and then pursue that passion with full energy, and hopefully one day there'll be an opening in a museum or a gallery for you to get a job as a curator. I've got a really interesting question. It's never been asked before. It's from Samuel Darling. And his question is, are you hiding aliens or evidence of aliens in the hidden underground bunker beneath the museum? So first of all, I'm going to answer the easy part of the question, which is, do we have an underground bunker? Yes, we do. We've got one now, and we had some in the past as well. So we have a collection store called the B2 collection store. It's not really hidden, but it is well below ground under the museum. And in that store, it is a massive collection store full of shelves that move. They're like on railway tracks and they move around, and most of our collection is actually stored in that B2 collection store. But during the Second World War, a bunker was indeed dug outside of the museum because there was a risk that a lot of our collections may be targeted in a bombing raid. So those bunkers are now empty and have been filled in, but they were actually dug out to safeguard the collections of the museum. Some of them actually didn't survive that because they got too damp, and I'm a fish guy, and the fish collection, some of the fish collection never recovered, they dried out. But most of the other collections that were stored in those bunkers were actually salvaged and returned to the museum. Now, on the question of aliens, well, first of all, you have to believe that aliens exist, and maybe they do. Second of all, I've never seen one, so if evidence is any requirement, then maybe we don't have aliens under the museum. But the fact that I've never seen it doesn't mean they don't exist.
Hi, I'm Lucy McIntosh. I'm the Curator of History at Auckland Museum. There's a question from Nathaniel, who's 7, about why we remember war. There are 3 reasons that I wanted to talk about today about why we remember war. And the first is honouring those who fought and died in war. So there were many people who fought and died, often overseas, and those who did survive had to adjust back to life in New Zealand after the war as well. So we remember those who fought and died for causes that they believed in, who fought for their country and who fought for their families. Another reason that we remember war is because wars have a big impact on our society and on our country. Many people leave and don't come back, as I mentioned, and many people do jobs that they wouldn't normally do, making equipment, knitting clothes, helping each other. People meet people from all over the world. They fall in love, they move there. And there are also big power shifts as well, so the politics and the boundaries of whole countries change. And our ideas about who we are as people and ideas about the world change as well. And the third reason I want to mention is about why we remember war is that we try and learn from war. So we try and think about why did wars happen and how can we make sure they don't happen again, and what lessons can we learn from those wars.